بارکل مندی دویله بیدن ترشن وره شولان بوش من قامتا کسندی المسخت یوداء خلانه قد پیشی و گربسی. ورخه ایادتا ارهمز من دپوما عدیه پیاشل شخلبتا بی مخبریات یوداء شوتاپایا و بوداقه. ان اطلاقون خاشولا و سنیقتون لمخبارتد بودیو و گربستو لاگش بیتون رخقه شخمن بتنشفه تیوی لایا آتورایا. همنون بیان قد ادخل شلوخون خامندی پریشا دو کاسا ین یهلا به رابا ارخات مریزنا لگراشا زیهیروتا زودا اخوان بدهای رخلوخون لا اخجی ادمبریخ پریشوتا تاگارتا الیتا قشولانوخون اینا اوق بد مرمخله درغی دو فرزن تپوخون بیان قد مچخیتون سمده تاگارای پریشه ده اطلان اخوان قمقزیتا.
Welcome to the Modern Assyrian on AGN. My name is Carmen Morad. My special guest today is the founder and director of SEYFO Center, the Assyrian Genocide Research Center, Mr. Sabri Atman. Welcome.
Thank you, Carmen. Thank you for having me today in your show.
Well, I would like to thank you for accepting our invitation. This is not the first conversation we've had, but I know you're extremely busy being a PhD candidate in Texas at the university. You have a lot on your mind, but I always enjoy talking to you, Sabri, because in every conversation, I learn something new when it comes to your education, your advocacy, and where in the world you have been, so you can give us some good news. You were recently in Paris, France, with some very good news. Please share with our viewers what took place and what every member of this nation should be made aware of.
Thank you very much for this opportunity, Carmen. But first, I would like to tell you a little bit about my study at Texas University at Dallas. This semester, I am a research assistant to Professor David Patterson. I like him very much. He is a very known scholar. And I enjoy being his research assistant. But this semester I had to read 150 books, and I need to write 3 research papers, each of them 25 pages. It will be about Assyrian genocide and jihad, the legacy of genocide and political violence, and Ottoman history. I will have 3 professors in May, and I will sit in front of them and be examined. When I pass the oral exam, then I can start finally to write about my topic, Assyrian genocide, the impact of jihad on the Assyrian genocide, and the participation of the Kurds killing Assyrians in 1915 genocide. So I learned a lot. It is challenging, but I learned a lot. And hopefully I will do my exam. I'm not very, I don't shake hands. It will be fine. And as you mentioned, Carmen, so last week was really a historic day in the French Senate. A Syrian genocide bill drafted by well-known 2 French senators, Valérie Boyer and Bruno Retailleau, and it was approved after it was presented. The discussion lasted about 1 hour 30 minutes. And after 1 hour 30 minutes, and they vote about it, and 300 said yes, two against. But we were very happy. It was the first time that happened in French history, in our history in France. And after the Senate, we were around 400, 500 people. We went to International Continent Hotel for a dinner party. And there were many senators with us, and the short speeches, and people celebrated.
Sabri, thank you for sharing not only the past week's events very articulately, but also sharing what you're working on in your academic journey, because it's so important when we talk to you to not only hear what you have been up to as far as your research, your education, but also the advocacy that you do with SEYFO Center. You answered a question that I was going to ask you next. You said there were two opponents of this resolution that passed in the French Parliament. Do you know who they were, and did they present why they were voting against it?
Nobody, I don't speak French, but I was at the Senate, and I was also curious. I was asking my colleagues, what do they say? What is their arguments? And I know they were protested by the rest of the Senates because they were telling that they built churches to the Assyrians, Chaldean community, how they helpful. Just they ignored the question that the resolution was about the genocide. And these two senators, they were from the government. I don't know their political affiliation. It didn't matter too, because all groups, whether socialist, social democrats, or Republican, all together they vote for the resolution. Only two, for some reason, they ignored the question. They were telling something else. They voted against, but it was not that important. And I can share you some more news. And I was very happy when I was together with more than 400 people at the International Continental Hotel and celebrate this recognition. They were people from the Church of the East, representative uh, people from the Church of the East. They were people from the Chaldean Church. Also, there were people from Syriac Orthodox Church. So all these three church affiliation we have, the genocide, our history brought these people together. And they were very happy. And also there were around 60, 70 youth, age 19 to 25. They were working for 2, 3 weeks to prepare all these things. And I had the opportunity to talk to some of them. They told me this was the best moment in their lives. They witnessed a such result. They were not tired. They said, we are ready to do more. We are very happy. It was worthy. And you know what, Carmen? Today in the morning, I am in communication with my friends in Paris. Today, a new draft resolution uh, presented to the French Parliament today in the morning. And hopefully, I don't know, we don't know, maybe it will take 2, 3 months, who knows. It will be also discussed at the French Parliament. Hopefully, also after the Senate, French Parliament also will recognize the Assyrian genocide.
Thank you for sharing that, because it's so important to know, Sabri, for all of us and all of our viewers, on how much work goes into all of this. My question to you is, since you have been so extremely involved since the beginning of your career in this journey, tell us how many countries in the European Union have affirmed and recognized officially the Assyrian genocide?
Uh, yes, I will give you my answer. But before that, I will tell you behind this resolution in France was the AACF, the Assyrian Chaldean Association, and Professor Joseph Yacoub was working very hard. Also, French politicians, and I have been in France since 2003, maybe altogether, I don't know, 20, 30 times. Last time I was there, it was in the summer. I gave a presentation, but I know almost all people, Assyrian, Chaldean, France, in Paris, they work very hard, really. Behind this resolution was one association, and for some reason other association they didn't participate. But I hope in the future they will be together and they work together and they will be happy together, and hopefully they will join the celebration when the resolution will pass at the French Parliament. So far, there are 8 countries that recognize the Assyrian genocide. Um, and there are 8 states in the United States. Uh, they recognize, they mentioned the Assyrian genocide. Also, 3 states, and thanks to you, California, you were the main behind this recognition, really, and with many other friends. I don't want to mention one and forget the rest, but it is the credit goes to Assyrian people. Really, I don't care about you and myself, we, but the credit goes to Assyrian people in France too. And there are 3 states also recognize the Assyrian genocide in Australia. And the most important also was 2007, the International Association of Genocide Scholars recognized the Assyrian genocide. So I am very active in this field, really, almost day and night. I am busy communicating with people. For example, at the university that I study, almost everybody now knows about the Assyrian genocide. I have been invited to so many classes to give speeches about the Assyrian genocide. All my professors, they know about it. I give them books. I update them, and I think today or tomorrow it will be in the at the university's news. The news in France that recognize the Assyrian genocide. A student, she came to me, and today she started to write an report article about what happened in France too, with the Assyrian genocide. So awareness about our case every day grow, and I'm very happy for that, and I'm very happy to be able to contribute also with this. But I can assure you that I'm not by myself. There are so many people they are helping. For example, our chapter in Arizona, uh, Dr. Ramina Jaju, with her leadership, and our friends in Europe, and so many people that their names is not mentioning, and many Assyrian associations, the federation here, the Policy Institute, and the Assyrian Association in Arizona, in Los Angeles, and many countries. The credit goes to all of them.
Thank you, Sabri. You know, it is about the nation, it is about the
Exactly.
overall picture. We, all of us, are what we call foot soldiers. We each play a role, some smaller, some larger, depending on what connections we have, depending on what kind of advocacy role we have. But you're right, we must work together, depending which corner of the world we are and how we can get the Assyrian genocide recognition to the ears of the right legislature, depending if it's local government or it's federal government, whether it's the parliament. So the work continues, in other words. You are in the center of it. I've always told you this, Sabri, this is your calling. This is what you're about. So all of us, when we hear about something or when we have a unique opportunity, we contact you. And you were so kind to mention what happened in California in 2019, where you were recognized on the floor of the California State Legislature, the Assembly, by Assemblyman Heath Flora, which I had the privilege of interviewing just a few days ago.
Wow.
And even though he's not in that district anymore, Sabri, but it's very important to celebrate. I call him our champion because he did both. He did the Assyrian genocide resolution that passed, and it's done, it's history. And he also did the Assyrian New Year. It doesn't matter who works on it, it doesn't matter who does it, because we will be gone and the next generation will come. And we want everyone to learn effective advocacy, not whose name it is or who does it, but it's about being in the books. It's about being in the minutes of city council meetings or assembly or Senate meetings. So thank you for mentioning that. But I always ask you this question, Sabri, and we've spoken many times through the years. What do you tell the young people? Because it is our obligation to teach not only our culture, heritage, history. We're not just about the genocide, but the genocide is such a generational trauma for us that we are seeking affirmation. We are seeking that voice that our ancestors, as a granddaughter of genocide survivors, I always say that for such a long time, for a whole generation, those survivors were not able to speak. We living in the West, we have this freedom. We have the avenue and the opportunities to reach out, to go to our assembly and Senate, and we're able to ask because it has to be asked. It's not just going to be given to us. This justice of affirmation that we seek, and this takes me to my next question to you, Sabri. Quite often I am asked, what do these resolutions mean? Are they acting resolutions? What do they mean to the people living in those regions that are still living under the countries that these atrocities were committed? And I would like to hear that from you because you are now an academic, you're a PhD student. But between advocacy and legislation and between academia, how the two come together so that we write our history and it's not written for us?
Excellent question, Carmen. Elie Wiesel was a Holocaust survivor. He got Nobel Prize 1986. He said, a genocide which not recognized is to be killed twice. So when a genocide recognized, it helps a lot for the healing process of the victims. So it is open wound in our body, and Turkish denial, the Kurdish denial also doesn't let us to go through this process to be healed. They deny the Assyrian genocide all the time. So this kind of recognition, it helps us, but the most important also that we should not take it mistaken to think that we stuck in the past. We all the time speak about 1915, 1843, etc. It is about our future. We don't want to be our past, be our children's future. And the best way to prevent future crimes against humanity is to condemn and to acknowledge the past genocide. And we are obliged for humanity also to speak about it. But still, we are not able to speak uh, free. And I asked my friends in Paris, in France, to be in two TV stations with me and to speak about it. They said, really, still, we are going to Turkey and we
Mm.
are facing some difficulties. And can you imagine more than 300,000 Assyrians, they were killed. They were our ancestors. They destroy our identity. They destroy our culture. They destroy our language. And we live in France. We live in California. We live in Texas and many other continents. But we are not free. We are not able to say what happened to us because still they can do it again and again. And for me, I don't care. I speak. Whatever it costs, I'm here. And to tell you today, I tell you what I was busy. I was busy with, uh, in connection with one senator in one state in US. Hopefully in March, the Assyrian genocide will be recognized by other states. I was busy with him for 1 hour discussion. He will present a genocide resolution in his state. Hopefully, it will happen. I was in contact with France in Sweden. We are trying to arrange a conference at the Swedish Parliament. We are also working to prepare a genocide conference at at the European Parliament. And today, I received an email. I am able to speak to give a presentation by the International Association of Genocide Scholars in Barcelona, in Spain. So I will speak up as much as I am alive, because this is our history, and people who doesn't know about their history will not have future. And I want our people to have their future, and their future should be free from genocide and other this kind of atrocities. This is the reason I'm working very hard about the past genocide, Carmen. I hope it was my answer. Your question was answered.
It was beautifully articulated, Sabri. As I said, this is a calling, and this is the kind of work that continues. One of the things I always mention is sometimes our elected officials are no longer in office; they term out, or you have new senators and new elected officials,
Yeah.
and they don't know anything about our communities, our heritage, and our history. So the work always continues. There's continuity in it. But I want to talk to you about, you just mentioned something that reminded me of the work that goes on here at Stanislaus University in Turlock. There is different kinds of genocide. When we talk about genocide, as Professor Lemkin described it, the actual destruction is systemic and very succinct destruction of a certain race or a certain people. But there is different definitions of genocide by, like you mentioned, the destruction and removal of a heritage, a language, a way of life. And we see it in Africa now as we speak. Continuously, it goes on. So it's not just about the physical, biological killing, which takes actually the most attention because it's the most atrocious of atrocities. But it also comes with not allowing those minorities in a certain country that are oppressed to name their children their own heritage and cultural names, not to be able to practice and worship the way they do, their orientation, their way of life. So that's why it's so important for us to keep educating ourselves. And you have so much information on the SEYFO Center website in different languages. And I would like to invite more of our viewers who are interested to learn more about what SEYFO Center pays attention to in its research, that we can learn more from a different lens, from a different aspect of how cultures can be attacked. Now, one of the reasons I believe that in the last 30, 40 years, the world's view of genocide recognition has changed. And please let me know if you agree with me or disagree with me, because of all the things that have been going on in the world with Africa, with the Middle East, what we're watching right now in Russia and Ukraine, for example, a deliberate destruction. It's beyond oppression, it's actually destruction. What do you think that is going to happen with the future of genocide studies and recognitions? And does it help this mass migration that we see of people who are oppressed, people who are now going through genocide and they are fleeing? Do these recognitions grow in numbers because of what politically the world is going through right now?
Wow, thank you. It's so huge topic, Carmen. But let me tell you, you mentioned Raphael Lemkin.
Mhm.
Let you tell you about Raphael Lemkin. Raphael Lemkin, who was a Jewish from Poland, he was very young international law student. In 1921, March 15, 21, Sogomon Tehlerian, a young Armenian, he went to Berlin and rent a room in Hardenberger Strasse. What I recall was number 67. Why Hardenberger Strasse in Berlin? Because the main architect of the Armenian Assyrian genocide, Talat Pasha, he was hiding himself in the opposite street, number 283, if I am not mistaken. March 15, 1921, when young Sogomon Tehlerian saw from the third floor that Talat Pasha went out with his wife, he took his pistol, he went after him, he shot him. And suddenly he was, the German police arrested him and took him to the court. And at the court, Sogomon Tehlerian, he was defending himself. He said, "What is wrong with you, German? This guy, Talat Pasha, he killed more than 1.5 million people, but he was free on your street. And myself, I only punish one person. You arrest me. It is shame on you." And Raphael Lemkin, at that time, he was watching the court case, and he started to discuss with his professor in the class. He said, "This Armenian guy, he is right. He killed only one person, he's arrested. But Talat Pasha, who killed more than 1.5 million, he was free in German street." And Raphael Lemkin's professor, he told him, he said, "Yes, but we don't have international court that can punish these mass crimes perpetrators." And from that time, Raphael Lemkin started to focus to find a court case that can punish the mass crimes perpetrators. And just after it happened, Simele massacre, Shawab Tabakh, August 7, 1933, in Simele, and Raphael Lemkin wrote about it, and he wanted to present a paper about Simele massacre. He wanted to go to Madrid, to Spain, 1941, to present a paper, but because Poland and Germany, they were closed, and they didn't allow him to go to Madrid to present a paper about the genocide. And just short after, Holocaust started, and many of members of Raphael Lemkin, they were include his parents, they were killed during the Holocaust. He flew to Sweden. After Stockholm, he went to New York. and day and night he was working at the United Nations, that he was preparing a resolution that could be presented, and the punishment and prevention of the genocide. He coined the term genocide, and it was kind of compromise, because at that time Soviet and US, they didn't, because they were kind of scared about their past, and he was forced to compromise about the resolution, the concept that he prepared about genocide. And it was December 9, 1948. The resolution passed at the United Nations, and 1959, and Raphael Lemkin, he passed away in New York. And
Mm.
since that, there are so many genocide scholars who write about genocide, and I read about their theories. And almost every day I'm busy with this, because one of my field exam will be about genocide theory. I go through many genocide scholars, and believe me, if you ask 20 scholars, uh, ask them what is the definition of genocide, you will get 20 different answers, because genocide became like interpretation. And so there is no clear concept about genocide, and we can put all together under umbrella of crimes against humanity. This was
I
long
see.
answer, but I
I
want to
see.
share this Raphael Lemkin story with you.
Thank you for educating us. Yes, his name is synonymous with genocide, but the interpretations can be different depending in what context they are used. You know, Sabri, I want to take you back to 2019 when you and I and Mr. Cooper Condit, the district director of the Assemblyman Heath Floor at the time, we went to visit Assemblyman Nazarian's office, if you recall. His
Yeah.
chief of staff and everybody was there. And Assemblyman Nazarian is no longer in office. He termed out. But since we spoke last, April 24th in the state of California has become a state holiday,
Yeah.
which is incredible. It's such a celebration because the level of advocacy has grown to a level where every year on April 24th, and that's when we were also there, when the entire state legislature, it's all about the Armenian genocide. It is an education, and every representative takes that back to their district. And California is almost 40 million people. Imagine 58 counties and all of these representatives. So, what you do and the advocacy of educating and teaching people, it's continuity. It must continue. And the more education that happens, the more people learn about it. And here at Interlock at Stanislaus University, with the Sargis Modern Assyrian Heritage Program, you were the first keynote speaker at our August 7th event. But their approach has changed a little bit, where, yes, the facts are shared by academic scholars. But this last year, we had an exhibition by some amazing leaders in our community, academic and attorneys. They did an exhibition that told the stories of genocide survivors. And I know that has a special place in your heart because for a long time you collected testimonies for an archive that you have, because there isn't that many survivors left and most of them are gone. But these were items that were displayed, and they were items by family members that held on, whether it was a piece of paper, whether it was a deed to a house when they left, when they fled, and where they went, which camp, Baku, how they came to the United States. It's an incredible journey, Sabri, and please tell us what SEYFO Center has done. And if anyone watching today that found out that if they have something that they would like to share, that the world can see, that it can be part of a collected, organized archive, how they can do that with SEYFO Center.
Thank you, Carmen. Again, before this, I would like to share something different with you, dear Carmen.
Mhm.
Do you know, do you know I am in Texas? I'm in Texas because of you.
Oh,
I will
okay.
tell you how. I will tell you how. You invited uh, a professor from Alabama University named Steve Jacob. Steve Jacob, we were together we gave a presentation at the New York State University. I knew him from that time. And without knowing this, you invite him to Turlock, to the university. He gave a speech, presentation. He mentioned my name and the work that the SEYFO Center is doing. And
Mhm.
you told me about this. And then I was asking his email from you. I
Yes, I
asked his
shared it with
email.
you. Mhm.
You gave me his email, and I contacted him. I told him, Professor Jacob, do you know any university that I could work on the jihad and Assyrian genocide? He said, yes, I have a friend in Texas University at Dallas. His name is David Patterson. I will contact him, and this is his email, this is his phone number. You contact him too. I contacted Professor David Patterson. He said, as soon as possible, send your application. And I was accepted at the Texas University because you gave me this connection. Thank you so much. Thank you. And last year I was teaching about American Civil War. I was doing TA also about Holocaust. And this year, this semester, I'm doing research assistant for this professor. So now to your question. But thank you so much, Carmen. Thank you for this connection. Look, Professor Steve Jacob is very known scholar. He has
Mhm.
the collection of Raphael Lemkin, includes Simele massacre, everything. And Professor David Patterson at Texas University, everybody likes him. I am so fortunate to have him, my advisor. He's one of the best scholar, one of the best humankind being, really. I'm very happy to work together with him and other professor here at Texas University at Dallas. So thank you, Carmen, again. And for the SEYFO Center, uh, we try, or to put it like that, every small achievement that we have, I hope everybody will understand this. There is a lot of work behind. Nothing happens so easily. For example, uh, the resolution in France. I have been maybe 30 times in France to give presentations. But my job is not to only go and give a presentation, come back. For example, today I was in communication with my friends. What is next step? What can we do? For example, you mentioned that April 24th, it will be holiday in California.
Mhm.
And the resolution that we passed, that has passed in France also, ask for this. At April 24th will be holiday in Paris, and hopefully it will be. They will follow California. So every single achievement that we have, there is a lot of work behind, and especially my energy. I am very fortunate. It's no limited. It is unlimited. Really, I can work day and night for this cause, for my nation, for my people. I will never get tired. This is my goal in my life. I will continue with this work, and I'm very glad that I have good friends around me. But to tell you, it's very, very, very difficult task, because uh, our number is very, it is not, we can't compare Assyrians number with the Armenians, and plus we don't have enough educated people, we don't have enough scholars, we don't have enough people who can support us. We have different churches. I go to Chicago, people they ask me, what is the name of your patriarch? I tell them, which one? I have Babam, 5 patriarchs, tell me. And all they are mine. And I mean, what I want to tell you, still we exist. Syrianaya, Yaqubaya, Kaldanaya, Aturaya, and we have many also people that they don't care. They have comfortable life in US, and they are bystanders. And the work should be done by maybe 10 people. And this is the reason it is very, very hard, but we will continue. And SEYFO Center, the last and SEYFO Center France, the last 2-3 years, we have a lot of publications. There are many books. They are translated to English. They are published in order to raise awareness. We have, for example, Texas University and many other universities. We have very good connection. We know many politicians. We try to update them. And for example, Sweden, European Parliament, and they are important tasks. And one important project that we have in the future also, I have a friend, Professor Taner Akçam. He is from Turkey. He is the main responsibility for the Armenian study at the UCLA in Los Angeles, and he is helping us to have our genocide survivors' testimonies to be also digitalized in the Shoah Foundation in Los Angeles. And hopefully soon we will start to do this work. And there are 52,000 Holocaust survivors' testimonies. They are digitalized. There are 10,000 Armenians, and hopefully the Assyrians also survivors' testimonies. They will be digitalized there, and scholars they will be able to go and use them. And so in the future, there are some more books that we want to translate and publish. Hopefully one day I will write my thesis also. It will be book. And I know there are many other young students also. They write their masters, and we got email to SEYFO Center. We are helping them. And there are some other people, Assyrian, they do their PhD about Assyrian history. And I think the young generation, they will produce some scholars that our community will be very happy and glad for the result.
Thank you, Sabri. Thank you for sharing all your thoughts and suggestions and ideas. And in closing, I would like to share with you that it is my pleasure to contribute to whatever that I did, which is very minimal to what you do, because it was your achievements and your dedication and commitment that is because you are where you are. But I want to make sure that our viewers know the gentleman that you mentioned that assassinated Talat Pasha is actually buried in Fresno. Fresno is a city in central California where we live. It's a predominantly Armenian community, and he is buried here in a cemetery. So, for those who have that interest to find out more about him, they can, if they happen to be in central California, they can look him up. The other thing is, I want to make sure that our viewers, Sabri, understand that we are talking about what our friends, and kudos to them in Paris, were able to achieve by bringing, as you said, a very diverse Assyrian nation. We are diverse, we have always been diverse, but I do believe what brings us together as a common denominator has been our genocide, has been the atrocities committed against us way back when, and how they are still happening in the 21st century as defined, where we know of them because of our technology and how the world is closer together. In closing, I would like to thank you, Sabri, for all you do. Thank you for
Thank you.
sharing your information with us. And please pass on to our friends in Paris and congratulate them for what they have done. Every achievement is celebrated by all Assyrians all over the world.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And I will share this video together with my Assyrian friends in Paris. Thank you very much.
I do want to say that when we were in Washington, D.C., Sabri, it is so heartwarming when we see more and more of our young, educated Assyrians that are pursuing Assyrian studies, whether it is the ancient studies, whether it is our modern history and the politics of it. So we are growing, and I am so excited and proud when I see young Assyrians choosing their heritage as a career path, and academically we're growing. So thank you for reminding us of that we need more,
Yes,
because we need to write our own history. We cannot allow others to write it for us.
Definitely. And one more thing, Carmen, in Paris, when we celebrated this resolution, and I was able to speak to one Turkish guy that he was at the hotel. He was very happy, like an Assyrian. He said, "This is a fact, and it should be acknowledged." And I hear around me also many Turks that they are thinking we are helping them to face their past and these kind of crimes, and it should be acknowledged. And hopefully one day Turkey will be mature enough and to acknowledge these past crimes, and to be a democratic society and to respect other nationalities and their rights. And I hope, I have a dream that people, regardless their language, ethnicity, faith, they can live in peace and harmony together. Thank you very much.
Very well put. Thank you. There's a lot more to be done. Thank you, Sabri Atman of the SEYFO Center, Assyrian Genocide Research Center. This concludes my conversation with Mr. Sabri Atman. I will see you on the next Modern Assyrian on AGN.
من بارکل من دیدویله بیدن ترشن وره شولان بوش من قامتا کسندی المسخت یوداء خلانه قد پیشی و گربسی ورخه ایادیتا ارهمز من دپوما عدیه پیاشل شخلبتا بی مخبریات یوداء شوتاپایا و بوداقه ان اطلاقون خاشولا و سنیقتون لمخبارتت بودیو و گربستو لاگش بیتون رخه شخمن بتنشوه تیوی لایا آتورایا همنون بیان قد ادخل شلوخون خمندی پریشا دو کاسا ین یهلا به رابا ارخات مریزنا لگراشا زیهیروتا زودا اخوان بدهای رخلوخون لا اخجی ادمبریخ پریشوتا تاگارتا الیتا قشولانوخون اینا اوب بد مرمخل درغی جو خورزن تپوقون بیان قد مچخیتون سمده تاگارای پریشه ده اطلان اخلان قمقزیتا